Good morning. It is currently 7 a.m. on Friday morning. We're headed to work. Luckily, end of the workday, we're starting the rod bearings. It's gonna be a nice fun video for y'all. Be complete without a cold start? Nope. I will catch you guys back after the workday. Start the rod bearings. My reason for doing the rod bearings in the first place is just purely out of preventative maintenance. So I'm gonna be fixing my oil pan leak tonight anyway, because I'm dripping. Good Lord, a puddle this big on the floor every night. So fixing that leak, and then also while the subframe and the oil pan's off, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the rod bearings. So the kit I bought, I'll link it in the description. You guys will see it in a minute. I bought it off ECS Tuning. I think I paid 330 bucks for it. I'll link it in the description. It comes with King coated bearings, which I ended up having to swap out for ACL coated bearings because the Kings were on back order for like 6 months. So I got ACL coated bearings, stock size, and then it comes with all the aluminum bolts for the oil pan and then the oil pump along with the new gasket. So good kit. The time is 5:37. That means it's time to start the rod bearings. Yippee-ki-yay, this is gonna be great. Dang, I forgot to record a couple of minutes ago. The kid who bought my E46 a while ago stopped by. I'll put a couple pictures in. Missed that car, but he came by to get a quick oil change before he goes back up to Jacksonville, Florida. So, but without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back to rod bearings. We are deep in this, and it sucks. Engine supported from up top and down below. Control arms disconnected, sway bar, everything. Motor mounts disconnected. Rack is disconnected. Now I've been trying for literally 20 minutes to get this hose off. There's little T30s. There's one way up in there. It is right here on the bottom side of this bracket. Why would they do that? BMW. Here's a perfect time to go over all of our parts included. This kit's off ECS Tuning, comes with everything you need. So we got all of our, these are all the oil pan bolts, a couple other miscellaneous. Here's all the rod bolts. Comes with oil and everything. Assembly lube, filter, and the gasket. And of course, got some ACL rod bearings. I found it interesting because the rod bearings are actually the same for the S55 and the N55. So, pretty cool. Subframe out. All right, front subframe out. Lift table, easy squeezy. Now we got access to everything. But I'm heartbroken because the power steering pump has to come off. Forgot about that. So lower the car down. Got to take off the stupid front inlet to get to this tensioner right here. Just BMR things. Alrighty, here's where we're at now. Oil pump is out. Windage tray out. There we are. Exposed crank. N54 has these little oil sprayers right here. Might be kind of hard to see. But that little nozzle right there, that sprays on the bottom of the piston. Keep it cool. Awesome. All right, guys, did a little bit of mining off camera. Sounded like a Minecraft YouTuber, so I went ahead and took off all the rods. Here are the bearings. This is number 4. Lower bearing, hardly any wear. Top bearing has a little more as expected with a turbo car. With bearings looking like this, I didn't see them ever even needing to be replaced, just preventative. Here's one of the ACL bearings. You can see that coating on top of it before they break in. And here's the good old plastic gauge. So I'm gonna plastic gauge all the lower bearings, check the clearances, do the scary torque spec. Assembly lube. Here I am putting in the top bearing for cylinder number 1. I should have shown it a little bit better, but I kind of just pulled the rod down a little bit into the empty area on the block and I was able to slide the bearing on top. Here's a lower rod cap going on. I was mistaken, this is cylinder number 2. Lower rod cap in, make sure that you put some oil on the threads of these new rod bolts. I'm just gonna go ahead and hand tighten them, put it together, and then start the torque spec. So the first round of torque for both bolts are gonna go ahead and do it to 20 Newton meters. Good electric torque wrench like this helps out, but this is just gonna seat the rods because they're crack rods. So here's the scary part. It's not a regular torque spec, so there's gonna be degrees. So we have to do 2 rounds of 70 degrees. That's a total of 140 degrees per bolt. So we're gonna go 70 on the first one, 70 on the second, and then do it again. Here's a good look at putting in another bearing into a lower cap. You make sure to spray everything off with brake clean before you install, and don't get any oil underneath that bearing in the cap to avoid any chance of spinning. This whole process is very time consuming, and it really takes a lot of knowledge to fully understand this and do this correctly. So if you guys are doing this at home, thoroughly watch a lot of videos. I know I'm doing this more kind of vlog style, but just take your time. Check clearances on every single bearing. I did that with Plasti Gauge. I've already done 4 of them. You can see I'm only missing cylinders 3 and 4. So 5, 6, 1, and 2 are done. So just take your time on this. Just keep track of all your parts. I made my little cardboard piece here to just show every part and where it ended up. And thank God I took this pickup tube out, because look at that. Serpentine belt material stuck in the pickup tube. So that means this engine did spit a belt at some point, and someone didn't take the oil pan off and clean it out. So that's why it was leaking in the first place, because it wasn't taken out. Already we're about 80% of the way done. The pan is on, just gotta torque them down. You guys saw it, it's so scary torquing these rod bolts with 2 sections of 70 degrees. It's just terrifying. But yeah, I'll torque them down, slap the subframe back on over there, and we're back in business. So I only show these last few bolts on the oil pan, but these are the really long ones. So the torque spec on these is gonna be 2 Newton meters and then 180 degrees with a torque wrench. So you can imagine how scary this is, feeling those aluminum bolts just stretch. Well, as you can see, rod bearings were a success. That was the first start video, so before that start, I unplugged all the injectors, filled it with oil and power steering fluid, and then I just dry started the engine, let it turn over about 20 times, just to build up oil pressure on the rods, and then fired right up. No issues, nothing at all. So I'm gonna drive really lightly for probably about 500, 2,000 miles, and then I'll change my oil with good 5W40, and we're all set. BMW doesn't specify any kind of break-in period for these engines. Even with the S65, the V8 and the M3, they don't specify any break-in period. They're kind of just like, anyways, just change the oil after a little while and you're good. Without further ado, we'll end this video off right here. Thank you all for watching. Sorry it wasn't too much of an informative video. It was, you know, trying out a new little vlog style, but more videos in the future.